This is Reality Dispatch, written by Jim Minns.
Last year, they were in Paris, drinking martinis and listening to midnight jazz in underground bars. They held hands in public without ridicule. They would embrace in theaters. They were together every minute of the day as the cold, icy wind tried to penetrate their skins, and their warm embraces kept the chill at bay. Jed often thought about those nights under the French clear skies as they listened to crooning Christmas songs and hard-liquored jazz singers as they sprawled across pianos played with subtle passion. That was last year. Tonight they were at Ethan's office Christmas party on the 30th floor of Century City, Los Angeles, thousands of miles away from Parisian martinis and crooning jazz bars with fairy lights lining the ceilings and tolerance on the streets. Tonight they were together, but they were apart. At least they got to ride the elevator up together. This would be the only uninterrupted time Jed would have with his partner. "I just don't know why you even invited me," Jed said. "Because," Ethan leaned in and kissed him on the cheek as the lift ascended. "You know I don't want us to be a part of Christmas Eve. Besides, we might have fun," Ethan encouraged. "How can we have fun when we have to pretend we aren't together?" Jed said, folding his arms. Ethan sighed. "Jed, come on, help me out here. It's a Japanese company and they have these certain morals and expectations on their staff. It's all about custom and practice, all right?" "Yeah, well, what about our custom and practice?" Jed asked rhetorically. "What about what we find to be morally acceptable? Is being in love and supporting one another not good enough for this company or something?" The elevator dinged on the 30th floor. "Shh," Ethan begged as he took a step away from Jed, just as the doors parted. Joseph Takagi was in mid-conversation at the entrance to the party as they stepped off the platform and onto the lie Ethan had established. Takagi embraced him with a platonic and professional hug. "Merry Christmas, Mr. Ross," he said. "Merry Christmas, Mr. Takagi," Ethan replied, returning the embrace. The two men laughed as they patted one another on the back. "Hey, it's not quite Paris, but it's still good of you to join us," Takagi smiled. "You remembered," Ethan said. "It's not hard to forget which one of our lawyers likes to spend every Christmas since 1983 in Montmartre," he said. "What a fascinating idea." Ethan nodded. Jed attempted to insert himself into the fold, despite having yet to be introduced. "It's certainly beautiful there. I just cannot get enough." "I can only imagine," Takagi said. He was growing impatient with the duo and looked around the gathering to see whom he had not greeted yet, when Ethan turned his attention to Jed, who waited with his hands behind his back. "This is my cousin Jed," he said as Jed outstretched a hand. Takagi shook it with strength, giving off a slight whiff of disapproval. "I thought Ethan had no family, hence the trips to France each Christmas." "I'm a distant relative, really," said Jed. "We grew up as wards of the state." His sarcasm permeated through gritted teeth. Ethan broke the tension with an overexerted laugh that Takagi mistook as humor also. He burst out laughing and slapped Jed on the back. "You're a real character," he said as Jed smirked in reply. "Well, listen, fellas. Nakatomi Industries prides itself on being an equal opportunity employer," Takagi began, just as Ethan's heart began to flutter. He wondered if his persona was that obvious, despite him not making any disclosures at all to anyone he had worked with for the 7 years he had been employed by the company. "That is why you will see a lot of single ladies in our employ here tonight. All I ask is that you treat them with respect, the respect you would reserve for our CEO. Do I make myself clear?" Takagi gave a stern look to Ethan, who was relieved that his lifestyle hadn't been revealed to the president. He nodded with a satisfactory smile. Takagi then turned his gaze to Jed with the expectation of the same response. Jed reluctantly gave a nod and turned away from Takagi's gaze as soon as he could, having exhausted his patience for playing the pantomime. "Okay, formalities over. Why don't you both join the party and enjoy yourselves?" Takagi said as he trailed off in the direction of a group of industry types in double-breasted suits who looked like they were on the cusp of closing a major deal. "Walter," he said as he trekked over, "get over here and give me a hug." Ethan and Jed took a step inside the expansive atrium. A waterfall descended a steady stream of fluid that was causing Jed to feel the need to piss already. He hadn't even had a drink yet. "I think your secret is still safe, my dear," Jed whispered to Ethan under his breath. Shh, just behave, Ethan begged under hushed tones. A corporate type in a navy suit with a stain on his shirt and white powder under his nose approached, further dividing the couple. "Ethan Ross, you asshole. Get your ass over here," he said, slapping him on the back and ignoring Jed altogether. "Can you believe we have to spend Christmas Eve here tonight?" the man questioned. "Tell me about it." "Ellis, this is my pal Jed from law school." Jed held out a hand to shake the hand of the Flakes. "How do you do?" Jed asked rhetorically. "I do well, except I'm surrounded by fags who don't know how to have a good time. Am I right, Ross?" Ellis said as he slapped Ethan across the chest, and Belly laughed at his joke for longer than anticipated. Ethan puffed up his chest to laugh along. Jed stood there in silence. "I brought a little something to pass the night through," Ellis said as he pulled out a vial from his coat pocket that had white substances floating inside. "I'm taking it in Gennaro's office. That way little Goody's two shoes can get the blame should we get caught. You down?" "I'll meet you in there," Ethan said. Ellis nodded and exited towards the offices. Jed gave him a stern look. "Listen, I have to keep up appearances. You don't have to be here at all. Why don't you just get a drink and I'll check in on you periodically throughout the night, okay? Maybe we can sneak away up to the rooftop when things die down, and I can show you the view of Los Angeles from Century City." "It's quite breathtaking," Ethan pleaded, but was finding it difficult to do without being able to touch Jed. Jed put on a smile that he didn't mean and nodded at his partner. He walked alone to the bar area and asked the bartender to make him a martini. He wanted to rekindle something of a memory of this time 12 months earlier. He drank one and then another. After Takagi had given a speech from above the attendees, he realized he had drunk 11 and could no longer feel his face. He was no longer inhibited. He wanted to walk over to Ethan, grab him by the waist and kiss him in the middle of the party. Show the entire Japanese corporation how forward-thinking Americans were in the year of our Lord, 1980. The war was over. The Japanese had lost, and this was a new country in a new world with new rules. He walked out into the crowd of unknown faces and pushed past as he attempted to hold on to the leverage his legs were rapidly failing. He thought he caught a glimpse of Ethan heading back into an office with that jerk Ellis. He proceeded off in that direction, but his eyes grew foggy. He wondered if it was Ethan at all, but discovered that he could not trust his eyes. His legs grew shakier, but he didn't want to give the impression that he was obnoxiously drunk. Not at his boyfriend's Christmas party. "I'll oversell it. Everybody loves a Christmas drunk," he thought to himself. An aimless man passed him in the foyer adjacent to the water fountain. Jed grabbed him by the shoulders and planted a kiss on his cheek. "Merry Christmas," he yelled as he kept moving, hoping that his actions were met with a laugh. Much to his relief, his travels brought him to the office bathrooms. He entered the disabled stalls and began throwing up immediately. When he woke up, he was on the floor of the tiled bathrooms and fireworks were being let off inside the building. He was not ready to remove his throbbing head from the comfort of being in a lying down position, but his sobering thoughts brought his decision-making back to reality. That, coupled with the screams he could hear, gave him pause for thought. It was time to leave this party, and it was time to leave now. It was far too out of control.
For more stories, head to jimmins.substack.com.